Hello and welcome to the weekly commodity market update. I'm Brownfield's Will Robinson, joined as always by the University of Missouri's Ben Brown. Hey, Ben.
Good morning, Will. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm sitting in a new location. I'm out here in Ohio. I'm wearing an OSU pullover, so it's
See the big block O.
yeah, big block O. It's a little bit different. They've taught me a lot though so far. I've learned how to spell the state's name, and we're making good progress. So.
Well, good thing it's not a long name.
No. Yeah, but no. So this week, a lot of what we're going to be talking about is crop progress and condition ratings and how that's playing a role in the market right now. But first, where do we stand? What prices have we been hitting as of late?
Yeah, good. So, and good luck with school. I know this is your first week of school. I just want to throw that in there real quick. So yeah, across the board, largely increases again this week. If we look at the price changes week over week, old crop September corn up 6 cents to $6.33. New crop December corn up a cent to $6.29. September soybeans up 36 cents to 15.27. November soybeans up 24 cents to 14.35. Soybean oil was the lone soybean component down 0.3 cents to settle at almost 69 cents per pound. Soybean meal up $7.50 per short ton to $460.50 per short ton. And then the wheat complex was largely down, 38 cents down for the September contract to 7.70, and then the July 23 contract down 31 cents to $8.16.
So a little bit of downward adjustments there. What really led the way on those losses?
Yeah, I'll just kind of go off script, or I'll kind of skip around here just for a second. So largely that wheat complex, there is optimism in this trade deal or this deal with Turkey, Ukraine, Russia. That ships are being able to leave with Ukrainian wheat. It's slower than what many people would anticipate. We're looking at about 750,000 tons so far. The goal was about 3 million metric tons per month. So still a long ways to go, but I think it's been better, or at least, the optimism is starting to pick up a little bit that this actually could see some grain leave the country, leave Ukraine. So I think that's what's facing the wheat market in the weeks ahead as we see some downward pressure there. Looking elsewhere across the different commodities, U.S. weekly ethanol production came down 39,000 barrels per day last week. That was roughly 11.5 million gallons, falling to 289 million gallons on the week, the lowest level since back in April. Export sales week over week were down for corn at 3.9 million bushels and wheat at 7.6 million bushels, but up for soybeans and grain sorghum. Corn and beans both had impressive new crop sales, totaling 29.5 million bushels for corn and 47.9 million bushels for beans. Open interest futures and options contracts for corn and Chicago wheat were flat on the week, while soybeans saw almost a 1% gain in open interest positions. Managed money traders built positions of corn while selling off positions of Chicago wheat and soybeans. Last week's cattle on feed report showed 11.2 million head on feed. That was the second highest August total on record. Cattle placements for July were 1.8% higher year over year compared to the industry expectations of a 1.5% decline. Again, I think that's that drought-induced factor there. Weekly grain export inspections were better last week. Corn inspections of 29.2 million bushels were up 8 million from the previous week. Wheat was also up, while soybean inspections were down week over week, but still exceeded their 4-week average. Cold weather is delaying planting for first crop corn in Rio Grande do Sul, but the real threat there is a third consecutive year of La Nina in that region. Reminder that was the part that southern Brazil, that southern state of Brazil, which is the first to plant corn, was also the hardest hit by drought this last year. National corn conditions ratings fell 2% on good to excellent conditions ratings to 55% compared to a historical average of 62%. 4% of the crop was rated mature. The national soybean good to excellence ratings fell 1% again this week to 57 compared to a 3-year average of 61%. And then finally, the 30th annual Pro Farmer Crop Tour is happening this week with Monday's results coming in for South Dakota, parts of Nebraska, and Ohio.
So a lot of information right there, and I want to kind of pick up right there where nearly where you left off, talking about crop ratings and conditions out there. So we're seeing both corn and soybeans into the mid 50s area on the good to excellent rating. Uh, Really, we're past the point to where a lot of the rain is beneficial for the corn, but still continued drought pressure is still dragging things down there. How much does this start to impact the market as, like you said, that crop starts becoming mature? I think you said it's 4% has reached maturity. So at what point is that really going to start, I guess, hindering the market, or is already done so to a point?
Yeah, it's already in there, by and large on the corn side of the equation. We're seeing the markets react a little bit stronger today. Corn, as we're recording this, is up 20 cents this morning, largely following last night's yesterday afternoon's USDA conditions ratings that were a little bit of a surprise to analysts. The other thing is, like, the Pro Farmer Tour, it started in South Dakota. The Western leg was starting in South Dakota and northern Nebraska. That far and away is the worst hit, or the worst part of the country when it comes to corn production. So they're starting out in the worst. I do expect it to get better as we move through the next week or so, or the next couple of days. But that's what I think the market today is just kind of sensing, that there's quite a bit of downward expectations on this crop in terms of production, and that's what's sending prices higher, at least for the time being. But I do expect some of these reports to get better as we move through this week.
Well, then looking at soybeans, I guess August is generally the critical time there when it comes to rain and moisture for soybeans. We're still seeing those conditions dropping. Is it too late to salvage some of that, or what's the point of no return?
No, actually, we're right in the pod fill stage for soybeans, and this is going to be a critical time for soybean production. It's interesting, the crop tour largely focuses on corn yields, because that's, we have more confidence in being able to estimate corn yields at this point of the year. Whereas if you've noticed, in many places, they don't report a soybean yield estimate. And certainly when USDA NASS does their August update for soybeans as well, they start talking a lot about pod count and things of that nature. The reason is because August is really, or late August and early September is really the developmental part that matters for soybeans. So my answer to your question is, the rains that are anticipated over the next couple of weeks, are going to be very important for soybean production. Here in the western part of the soybean belt, so I'm going to take eastern Kansas, Missouri, part of Iowa, Illinois. We got some pretty good rains last week, an inch here, an inch there. That frankly, that's recharged some of the soil, not fully. There's still parts of the state that are very much suffering from drought, but it at least gave us soil moisture to fill out that soybean crop. And the soybeans will have enough to get through at least another week or so, especially with these cooler temperatures, that by the time the rains come that are expected, we could be sitting pretty on soybean development. So I do not think that it is too late for soybeans. The soybean ratings came down 1% good to excellence on the week, but certainly I think we've got room to continue to grow. And I don't think, we talked about this last week, I don't think that all-time record for soybeans of 51.9 bushels per acre is out of the question. I certainly think that if we get the timely rains, we'll have a good soybean crop.
Well, just on that, looking for those rains, would you expect, at least in the near term, for the market to really, obviously depend a lot on forecasts. So do you expect maybe some quick movement one way or the other whenever we start getting better weather outlooks?
Sure. Yeah. So as the conditions change, you'll see some of that influence in the markets. It's that time of the year when they're really, sensitive to those type of things. Soybeans is up kind of in sympathy to corn this morning. And if you want to say sympathy, I don't know if that's the right word, but soybeans is up relative to corn. Also, we're starting to see a little bit better, expectations for exports in the soybean market as well. And I think that's, the picture's not totally better for soybeans. Like, it's not like sitting out there going, oh, this is a rosy picture, but I think it's certainly like flattening out, and we're holding expectations at the moment for that soybean picture, the soybean supply and use.
So I want to go back to talking about the crop tour. Mentioning it starting out west. As it moves eastward, do you expect maybe expectations and really trader thoughts to start getting a little bit more positive and really kind of I guess adjusting more of a more positive outlook in production totals.
Yeah. So just a reminder, they did start in the worst. The western leg started in the worst part of the western corn belt. Like, it'll get better. I mean, it just like, I mean, where they started is kind of, a burden this year. And the fact that, southern South Dakota and northern Nebraska, are going to be a really, really, really dry, sparse area for yield. We're seeing that in basis bids. Like, we knew this going on. So they're starting in the worst part. I'm going to switch to the eastern corn belt for just a second. So the eastern leg starts there in Ohio and moves west. Similar. I think if you look at the Eastern Corn Belt, they're probably starting in the worst part of the Eastern Corn Belt when it comes to Ohio. And so, like, as the Western leg moves east and as the Eastern leg moves west, I do expect them to see some better crops that'll improve optimism. The big question, I think, is when they get, and this is where I'm looking for. I'm looking for those reports out of Illinois and Indiana. I think that's going to be a make it or break it moment for trader sentiment over the next week, or really the next 2 days, right? Like, it's going to happen pretty quickly here. And the reason I say that those two states are important is I do believe that the crop looks good when you drive from the road, but I want to see people and have reports coming from the field, like actually getting in the field and report back. I think that's going to be important. The second thing is, as I drive across it, the crops that are growing look good, but there's a lot of drowned out spots. Keep in mind, Eastern Indiana, a good chunk of Indiana was really wet all through the planting period. And so, I think there could be some substantial drowned out spots that kind of bring some of that top end yield down. And if you're bringing the top end yield down in the part of the corn belt that we think is the best, or the strongest, that really starts to impact your national yield. So I think Indiana and Illinois, especially central Illinois and western Indiana, I think those are going to be, extremely important this year. And I'm anxious to see what crop scouts have to say about that region.
Well, looking into the Eastern Corn Belts, I've only been in Ohio a little over a week, and it seems like we've already had 3 major rain events since I've gotten here. It's a pretty big shift from, being in Missouri for the last several months. So really, what are your expectations, I guess, on those wetter portions of the Eastern Corn Belts for, overall production, if you can have an outlook on that?
Yeah, so this is you're experiencing what I experienced for 3 years. It gets really wet at harvest, and it creates a long harvest season for the Eastern Corn Belt. And when we talk to the climatologists, they say this is exactly what the Eastern Corn Belt is trending: is drier in the summer and then wetter in the spring and fall. And so I want to give a shout out to my friend Aaron Wilson there at Ohio State. He's the one that has drilled that into my head for so long. But it is true. Like that Eastern Corn Belt is the last couple of years has been the place where the yields have been the strongest, and they've kind of outweighed the challenges in the West. I don't think they're sitting on a record yield, even on soybeans. USDA pegged the record soybean yield for that region, especially in Ohio. I don't think they're sitting on a record soybean yield, and I know for sure they're not sitting on a record corn yield. And so that part of the country is going to experience maybe a little bit of step back this year. I don't want to confuse Illinois and Indiana with Ohio on the soybean side. I made the comment about a record soybean crop. I think Illinois and Indiana could still have a really strong soybean crop. Ohio soybeans have had some troubles and struggles this year that I think are going to take some of that top end yield potential off. So,
all right. So just to summarize that a little bit, a lot of dryness out west, dragging things down, wetness out east, dragging things down there. And really you're looking for the center parts of the Eastern and Western corn belts to try and, bring up the top end of the yield.
Pretty much.
There you go. Easy.
Pretty straight, pretty simple.
All right. Well, looking forward to the rest of the week, Ben. What reports should farmers, producers really be paying attention to that could be shifting some markets?
Yeah, largely a pretty quiet week outside the crop the crop tour. We have an ethanol report on Wednesday. We have our weekly export sales on Thursday at 7:30 a.m. And then the Commodity Futures Trading Commission releases their trader data on Friday at 3 p.m. Central Time. So a relatively quiet week when it comes to reports.
Hey, you know what? Sometimes that's not bad.
Yeah. We'll take it.
All
Especially
right.
the first week of school.
Exactly. Definitely. Yeah. No. So, looking ahead or looking for any other information, if farmers and listeners would like to learn more about the livestock side of things, check us out at the weekly livestock market update on Brownfield with Megan Grebner and Scott Brown with MU. I'm Will Robinson, joined as always by the University of Missouri's Ben Brown. We'll catch you next week.